How's it going, everybody? In this video, I want to talk about the 5 California gun laws which absolutely baffle any gun owner not in the state of California. So let's talk about this. One thing I want to mention right before we jump into this video, we are actually approaching 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. I think right now we're about 90,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed right now, if you've watched a few of my videos and you're not subscribed, I would greatly appreciate if you did subscribe to the channel, help the channel grow. And for those of you that are subscribed, I greatly appreciate all that you've done. Also, I want to mention you might want to double check if you have been subscribed that you still are, because I get a lot of reports that people have been unsubscribed by YouTube. So just keep an eye on that. But again, we're marching towards 100,000 subscribers here on this channel, and I cannot thank you guys enough. Okay, so let's get right into this. The 5 California gun laws which absolutely baffle non-California gun owners. These are things that pop up quite a bit in conversations I have with other gun tubers, other people who are firearms enthusiasts who are not in the state of California. When we talk about these things, they are just absolutely flabbergasted by the laws that we have. And I'm going to do these in descending order. So we're going to start from number 5 and we're going to go all the way to the number 1. And these are kind of like my 5 through 1, which just absolutely baffle people. So number 5, the one that I think is of course horrible, but is a little less shocking to people, especially compared to some of the other ones that are going to come later. And that is the 10-day waiting period here in the state of California. Here in the state of California, you must wait 10 days after you purchase a firearm for you to take possession of that firearm. And this is established under California Penal Code 26815 subsection A. Upon notification to the state of California, even though the background check is most often very instantaneous, goes to the NICS system, the DOJ checks you, make sure you're not a prohibited person, even though that is almost instantaneous and almost any other state can run that almost instantaneously and give you possession of that firearm. Here in the state of California, they have a 10-day waiting period or a cooling off period to, I guess, try to prevent individuals from actually exercising their Second Amendment rights and getting their hands on the lawful firearms that they want to possess. And this is number 5 because although we have a 10-day waiting period, there are some other states that have other varying forms of waiting periods. So when I talk to people from other states, they might have a lesser waiting period, a 3-day, something like that, maybe even a 24-hour. But they don't have the whole 10-day like we have here in the state of California. So that's why I put that at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the ammunition eligibility check, also known as California's ammunition background check. This is one of those ones that really baffles a lot of people outside the state of California who are completely surprised by the fact that we have to have a background check to purchase ammunition here in the state of California. On top of that, also just completely surprised by the fact that the state of California does not allow us to purchase ammunition online directly to our doors like a lot of other states actually can do, or people in other states can do. Under California Penal Code 30212, you have to go through a FFL, a licensed dealer, to run the eligibility check to pay the fee, either the basic fee, which is a $19 fee, or the standard fee, which is a $1 fee. And the standard eligibility check is supposed to be streamlined, whereas the basic eligibility check can take 24 hours or more. So those are kind of 2 routes you can go here in the state of California when you're doing your background check. But again, this absolutely baffles people in other states because they are shocked, let alone that we have 10-day waiting periods to take possession of firearms. But on top of that, we also have to do background checks for ammunition purchases. On top of that, they're absolutely surprised that the California state has a taxation or a fee attached to you purchasing ammunition, all the way up to a $19 fee for you to purchase ammunition, which in normal times sometimes can relate into you paying more for the fee than the ammunition actually costs. Now, right now, again, prices are inflated, so you kind of have an imbalance there. But still, that doesn't mean that you should pay $19 as a tax to the state of California for you exercising your Second Amendment rights. So now we're getting into the top 3, and these are kind of the heavy hitters and the ones that really surprise people when I talk to them about these laws, and probably a lot of people not in the state of California are very aware of because they're discussed quite a bit. My number 3 is the handgun roster. This is one of those ones that really shocks people. Here in the state of California, we have a roster of approved handguns that normal law-abiding individuals like me and you can walk into a gun store and purchase. There's a list of approved handguns, and any handgun that is not on that roster of handguns, you can simply not walk into an FFL and purchase. Now, there's some other ways around that where you can do some sort of private party transaction purchase, But the person who has that off-roster handgun had to originally got it in a way that was exempt from the general California law, which relates into the secondary market where the prices for these handguns that are off-roster are completely inflated. And this is another thing that shocks quite a bit of people when I start talking about the price of various handguns with them. They're shocked by the fact that, especially if something's off-roster, you are looking at paying almost 2 or 3 times as much for that off-roster handgun than you would in another state. A perfect example of this that I like to relay all the time is that you can walk into an FFL and buy a Gen 3 Glock, but you could not walk into the same gun store as a normal law-abiding individual and buy a Gen 4 or a Gen 5 Glock. You just simply couldn't do that. You have to go to the private market and try to find one of those that is for sale from someone who was originally exempt from the language and purchase it, like a law enforcement officer. On top of all of that, AB 2847, which is known as the backdoor handgun ban, which passed last year, is looking to further limit or restrict that list of rostered handguns. AB 2847 would cause the situation where any new handgun is added to that roster of approved handguns, 3 of the oldest ones that are on that list would have to be removed. So soon we could see a situation if new handguns make their way on the roster that even those fan favorites like the Glock Gen 3 19s would soon actually find their way outside of the roster, and normal individuals couldn't even go get those. Coming in at number 2, in my opinion, is the magazine restriction, or the restriction on large capacity magazines, or simply magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. But again, this is one of those laws that just completely baffles people, where you cannot possess, buy, sell, manufacture these magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, because the state of California has arbitrarily defined them as large capacity magazines and more dangerous than other types of magazines, and therefore you simply just cannot have them. Now again, there's exemptions to all this. I'm sure I'll have comments saying, well, you can technically possess Freedom Week magazines. Yes, I understand that, but I don't want to get all into the weeds about Freedom Week magazines or grandfathered magazines. There are some exemptions to this law, but just generally, there is a prohibition on the possession, buying, selling, transporting, manufacturing of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. And this is something that a lot of other states just simply do not have. They can go and purchase these standard magazines, and indeed, these standard magazines come directly from the manufacturer when people purchase firearms. But here in the state of California, it's a no-go, and even when we go to purchase firearms, they come with 10-round magazines. And so now we've made it all the way to my number 1 California gun law, which absolutely shocks people outside of the state of California. And I'm sure you might be anticipating what this one actually is, because I haven't brought it up yet, and it is California's assault weapons ban. Here in the state of California, we have a general ban on what California deems to be assault weapons. Now, this has taken various forms. Originally, the Ruby Roost list had a specific make and model list, where those specific makes and models of firearms were considered to be assault weapons. That law eventually evolved over time to where now we have actually a kind of feature-based as well prohibition on the possession of these types of firearms. And the various categories that are considered to be assault weapons here in the state of California can be found in California Penal Code 30605. There are various categories where they say things like semi-automatic centerfire rifles with detachable magazines and features like a collapsible or telescoping stock, a pistol grip, a flash hider, a forward pistol grip, anything like that on that type of firearm is considered to be an assault weapon and therefore prohibited here in the state. This also includes things like various pistol builds and also shotguns. And also on top of that, you also have things like AR fixed magazine builds, where you can have an AR fixed magazine build, but if you put a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds in it, then all of a sudden it magically becomes an assault weapons as well. So this is one of those big ones that really shocks people out of the state of California, especially when they see things like the featureless rifles that we have here in the state of California, with weird things that are set up in a way to kind of get around this language, like having fin grips or weird angled grips on our AR rifle builds. And this is to get around that pistol grip language. And California says that a pistol grip is something that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon. So fin grips and angle grips and things like that are actually put on rifles to become featureless and get around that language. The same thing with fixed stocks, having muzzle brakes on the firearms to get around the flash hider, not putting forward pistol grips on these rifles because you could have all these other features like a fixed stock, like a fin grip, like a muzzle brake, but all of a sudden magically if you put a forward pistol grip on it, it would still be considered an assault weapon because any of those offending features on that style of rifle makes it an assault weapon here in the state of California. And the reason why I put this as the number one in my opinion is because recently when I went on a trip, I was talking with a lot of other gun tubers and they were asking me, what is your dream gun? What would you love to have? Like, what is on your wish list? And to me, it was, I would like to just have a normal AR-15 style rifle. I would like to have a normal pistol grip. I would like to have a collapsible stock. I would like to have all these things without having to make it fixed mag or make something featureless. That is my dream gun. And it's shocking to a lot of people outside the state of California that we are so constrained here in the state that we can't even have the most basic things that people in other states can have. So that's my top 5 California gun laws, which absolutely shock people outside of this state. If you guys think I got it right or wrong, go ahead and comment down below. Or if you even think I left something out, another gun law, which is absolutely shocking to people outside of the state, go ahead and drop that in the comment section as well. So if you like this video and like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell because that helps the channel analytics, helps us spread the word about the Second Amendment, also spread the word about things like this that are going on in the state of California. I also want to give a shout out to one of the main sponsors of the channel, that being USCCA. Being a responsibly armed American is both an honor and a responsibility, and is not one to be taken lightly. If you own a gun, then you need the self-defense education, training, and self-defense liability insurance that you get through USCCA. Click the link down in the details section and comment section right now to explore your membership options. Once again, USCCA is an amazing company and I cannot thank them enough for supporting the channel, and you can find a link to them down in the details section. So as always, thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars. This nation will be maintained by armed scholars.